Hello people of YouTube. Last anime I reviewed was Sword Art Online. This video I'm actually gonna start reviewing another 90s anime besides DBZ, Cowboy Bebop. But first, let's see what random passage we open up to. I'm gonna read the first 5 verses of Mark chapter 14. After 2 days it was the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a teacher's way to arrest and kill him not during the festival. They said, or there may be rioting among the people. While he was in Bethany, at the house of Simon, who had a serious skin disease, as he was reconciling at the table, a woman came with an alabaster jar of pure and expensive fragrant oil of nard. She broke the jar and poured it on his head, but some were expressing indignation. I'm sorry, some of these words I can't pronounce. To one another, why has his fragrant oil been wasted? For this oil might have been sold for more than 300 darnye and given to the poor. They began to scold her. And like I did with Sword Art Online, the first review I did of that, I am only gonna review the first 2 episodes. First, I'm gonna give a little bit of background information. There is the spaceship called the Cowboy Bebop. What the main protagonist is a former mafia member known as Spike, and his friend Jet, who they go on bounties, hunting down criminals just basically to make a quick buck, and because they don't have very much money. Well, I really like the first episode because it's a really cool pilot. What they end up fighting a crime boss that has like a drug addiction. What is basically a big fancy steroid thing that kind of makes for some disturbing imagery of faces. Well, I really enjoyed the pilot. It set the premise really well, and it was enjoyable. And in the second episode, there is this dog that is being sold by, I guess, like this one criminal that has a boss on their head. And something that is kind of cool that I really like about the premise of them just trying to get a quick buck even though they barely make enough money to survive. I kind of think of that kind of reminds me of times when God has provided for me in my life. But there's this really cool story that I'm gonna talk about. In one time while I was at scout camp, it was actually the last time I went to scout camp. There was one day when I was walking back from one of my merit badge classes back to the campsite, and it just started pouring down rain. And I was wearing glasses and everything, and the water was coming down at an angle, so it was basically hitting me right in the eyes and the glasses and everything, so I could barely see anything. And while I was walking, I was still trying to get back to camp, but I knew I couldn't make it back there, so while I was walking, I prayed and asked for there to be a shelter that I could stop and sit by and sit under until the rain stopped. And then, as I was alone, after walking a little bit longer after I finished the prayer, I found this weird entrance into a woodsy area that was like a paved trail, and it led to the camp chapel. So I walked into the chapel and sat down in the very front row. And then I looked up, and this is how I knew it was a chapel. When I looked up and saw the roof, I saw a wooden cross suspended from the roof. And that's also the moment that I knew that was an act of God that I found that place. Just seeing that cross there and seeing, after the rain stopped, the sun shining on the back of it, I knew that my prayer had been answered. And that is just a really, really cool story that I've shared with quite a few of my friends. And now I'm gonna go on to finish up the second episode review. And the really cool part about while Spike catches the person, I'd say the fight sequences are even more entertaining in the second episode. And they end up talking. The fight actually takes place in a pawn shop, what is really fun to watch. They did a lot of good art in that fight scene. That's something that I really admire about this series, is the art with the slow, how the animation flows really smoothly and everything, especially during the fight scenes, with the guns being fired and people running around. I really like some of the animation with that. And Jet and Spike do end up taking the dog and protecting the dog, and they do catch the bounty hunter. And that is where the episode ends. With that being said, may God be with you, and see you next time.